I'm Rachel Alday, and this is the Hospitality Break Room, a podcast full of nuggets and secret sauce, where every Monday we'll shed light on what we've learned from the countless mistakes we've made along our journey in the chaotic and rewarding world of vacation rentals. Hi, and welcome back to the Hospitality Break Room. I'm Rachel Alday, and today I have Tilly with me. She's been on the show before, but today she's on for our second season. So our first season was 10 episodes that we recorded mostly with the idea that we were sort of talking to other people in the vacation rental industry. And then now in our second season, we're going to be recording 10 episodes, always with people from our team. And we're going to be talking more with the mindset of thinking about if our homeowners or homeowners of second home properties that are vacation rentals, if they were listening. So sometimes we're going to cover some of the same basic topics, but like with a different framework in mind. Sound good?
That sounds awesome. I cannot believe that we're already on the second season.
Right?
That went so fast. Goodness.
The second season. I know, it's amazing. Okay, so Tilly was on the podcast before, but maybe you should just do like a quick Tilly intro in case, because we have so many listeners and I'm not sure if all of them heard that first episode. So
perfect. And I'll expand a little bit.
Okay.
So I'm Tilly. I have lived in Utah since 1993.
I love that.
I've been with Abode for almost 10 years now.
Amazing.
Yeah. Also, that went very fast.
She's wearing her 10-year anniversary cowboy hat from the famous Kimo Sabe, which Kimo Sabe is an insanely amazing store. And they have a location in two of our locations where we have Abode, one in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, and one in Park City, Utah.
Yes. And we were lucky enough, Helen and I were gifted the opportunity to make these in our Jackson Hole office.
Custom
made. I also ran into Bill Murray that same day.
Wait, tell that story.
That night, we went out to dinner and we were at the bistro in Jackson Hole.
Such a good place. It's at the Cloudvale Hotel.
Delicious. Absolutely delicious. And had a really amazing experience with the server.
Oh my gosh.
And the manager.
Love it.
Everyone has been very, very pumped up on Will's book.
Will Guidera.
Yes.
Unreasonable Hospitality.
Absolutely fantastic book. Everyone should read it. But we kind of shared some points with the server because she didn't even know how to open up a bottle of wine. Oh my
gosh. I'm not very good at opening a bottle of wine.
But she was very receptive to our feedback, as was the manager. The manager came over and we talked to him and we're like, hey, if she doesn't know how to open up wine, that's your fault.
Right?
He was good about it. Anywho, so I have been with Abode for almost 10 years. And I'm an Enneagram 7.
Okay. I'm an 8.
Yes.
But so 7s are more fun than 8s.
But we fear conflict.
Well, not as much as 9. But yeah. 7s are pain avoiders and lovers of all things new and exciting. Yeah.
And probably pretty confident. Like, I say I'm my biggest fan. And I'm going to mean it. But like, I'm also open to feedback too.
Yeah.
So yes, I've seen a lot. Each market is very different. Park City versus Jackson Hole versus Sun Valley, very different types of owners, guests, some crossover. Sun Valley, we were actually referred to a person in Sun Valley. That's how the business opened.
All of our markets, like we started in Park City, and then when we expanded to Jackson and into Sun Valley, it was like very organic. Abode has never like acquired as of yet another company. We've always organically grown into other markets. Okay, cool. Okay, so Tilly has been in sales her whole life, which the last time she recorded on the podcast, she talked a ton about her sales background, and it barely even scratched the surface because she has like a huge sales background. But so today we were going to talk about, and when I say sales, I mean reservation sales. So not like, I think sometimes in our business, we say sales a lot, like in Abode. And I don't know if all companies refer to it the same way, but like in our industry and vacation rentals in general, sales, and this is for like, if there's a bunch of homeowners listening, which might happen one day, when we talk about sales, that means selling reservations.
I'm a reservationist.
Yeah.
I'm the quote unquote sales manager.
Yeah.
Reservationist manager along with my colleagues, Mark and Chance and Chris. And then Brad is our director.
Yep. And so, let's see, we were talking, Tilly and I, before we started recording about like some possible things we could discuss in terms of nuggets and secret sauce, since we are in the break room. And we were talking about, let's see, one of the things we were talking about was how the sales team here at Abode, how they select which guests that we're going to book and which ones we're not going to. Because homeowners ask us a lot before they sign with us. They'll say like, well, how do you sniff out like a possible bad guest? And sometimes they'll wonder if we do like really in-depth credit checks or background checks. And, industry standard is really not to do background checks much, not like official background checks like you would do maybe on a long-term rental sometimes. And the short-term rental, because the time between when the potential guest is looking to book and when they book is much tighter, and it can be like literally moments. There's not always time to sift through and do like a multi-day background check, but we do work hard to, number one, talk to all the guests before they come to town. And then number two, to have a specific conversation with them to try and determine like what's the nature of their stay, what's the nature of their group. So I was going to say, do you want to go into some of the ways, some of the methods that you guys use to, while you're feeling someone out either before they book or right after, to figure out like, okay, is this the right guest to stay in an Abode property? Mm-hmm. And then like, think of like some tactics, nuggets, and then dip that in some secret sauce, like some more sort of overarching stuff.
Perfect. Cool. So I would put it into two categories: the organic booking or the agent booking.
Yeah.
We actually have the grace of being able to chat via email or texting and or speaking on the phone. I prefer speaking on the phone, but VRBO and Airbnb, if they inquire through those two platforms, it's nearly impossible.
Yeah.
Because we have been around for so long, I do look and see, has this person with this name stayed with us before? And that always helps.
Yeah.
And sometimes people are like, hey, I booked with you. In fact, I'm late to this podcast because a woman that had stayed with us in our Jackson property called and wants to book in Park City.
Okay,
so
cool.
That was fantastic.
Yeah.
We love that. That is the biggest compliment we can get, I think.
That's like the whole reason behind having our 3 markets in 3 different ski areas, because there's so much crossover.
Yeah, absolutely. And then when I am, and the second silo or group would be the auto bookings. So people who have gone on their own and decided which property they like, the dates, they put in their credit card, but we still follow up with them. We still call them. I want to gather knowledge. So like, how come you picked this house? Because when somebody books automatically, they've sold themselves on the property, and I want to sell them on a boat at that point.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit of a backwards process. But we can usually feel out the auto bookings. A lot of times they'll only mark one guest.
Oh, yeah.
So that's a really easy way to get on the phone with them and be like, hey, for stalking purposes and head counts. Yeah. How many people are in your group?
And just so you know, when you said stalking purposes, I was like, does she mean like stalking the guests?
I'm stalking, like looking at them through their window in their house. Right. Yeah.
She means like stalking the house, like making sure there's like, if there's going to be, let's say the house sleeps 12 and there's going to be 12 people, then we really want to make sure there's like extra soaps and shampoos, extra towels and toilet paper. If it's 2 people, we still stock the house pretty well, but then we might not go as much overboard. Anyway,
correct.
Clarifying in my Rachel way.
Correct.
Always obsessively clarifying. Okay.
Yes.
Plus, that's funny. Okay.
And to use the number 12, if I'm talking to a person and they're saying, yes, there's going to be 12 of us, the max the house sleeps is 12. And that means they're putting, like, let's say it's a dude's trip.
Right.
There's going to be 12 dudes in a house that sleeps 12. So that means
dudes sharing king size or queen size.
Right.
beds.
Exactly. Yep. We call it asses to elbows because they usually sleep opposite. It's so Or if there's, like a bunk bed, of 2 twin beds, like,
Right.
are you okay with that as a group?
Yeah. No, it's good to be able to like call them and make sure they get, because I do think people don't think of that. Sometimes they think, oh, sleep's 12, there's 12 beds. Like, no, sleep's 12 means potentially there's king or queen size beds and we're counting 2 of those.
Correct.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And then I like to ask certain questions like, have you been to Park City before? Is this a regular trip that you do? How do you all know each other? And then you just kind of non-aggressively interview the guest and kind of gather the information of what brings them here. Are they going to be,
And so like, what are you trying to get at when you're doing that? Like just thinking like, that we'll probably have, thousands upon thousands, if not millions of homeowners listening to this podcast.
Yes.
In addition to my mom, and Tilly's husband. And so, you don't think he'll listen?
We're still learning how to do podcasts for him.
Maybe I can get my kids to individually listen on their iPads. But anyway, thinking about all the homeowners that are going to listen, like from their standpoint, what are you trying to get at in these conversations? When you're like, kind of undercover in a very kind and non-aggressive way, questioning our potential guests or the guests that have already booked.
What I want to not have them say are things like, we had another property booked, but the owner canceled on us.
So like, what would that tell you?
Well, I'd ask like, oh, really? Why?
Yeah.
And then I can usually tell because of the industry if
and how many years you've been doing it.
Yes. And if the guest is saying, well, they, another vacation rental company said that owner double booked. We know that that's not true.
Yeah.
So that's a red flag to me that the other rental company was like, that sounds like a bad guest. And so
they got screened out by someone else.
Yes. So we kind of do more digging.
Yeah. Or like, what's something that someone would say, like maybe in terms of a count of people or like the kind of the group that would make you nervous?
Yes. We're going to have 12. There may be a couple more. Would it be okay if we slept on the couch?
Right.
Absolutely not.
Yeah. So what do you say?
No, we do not want anyone sleeping on couches.
Yeah.
Our homes are not set up for that, nor are the bathroom, if it's on septic or that the house just can't hold extra people. That is not a luxury experience. We are a small family-owned boutique rental company, and we don't want guests on couches. Owners don't want guests on couches.
Right.
And it's not pleasant for the guests to be on couches.
Yeah, we want these people need to have a great experience. So they can leave a great review. Yeah. So what do you say? Like, no, sorry, it's a 12 maximum on the contract. So if you have more than 12, then we help you find
a second property.
Yeah. Okay.
Exactly. Things like, is the hot tub outside private? We had a new one where somebody texted in while they were in house and they said, I understand that I can't vape or smoke in the house. But does that mean cigars too? Like, at least they asked.
Yeah.
So
it's like, yes.
Yes, that is for sure.
No cigars. Yeah. And then what were they kind of nice about it?
They were. Absolutely. Okay. Well, and
they have to assume that that's a no, right?
For some reason, they said that they had seen ashtrays around the house, which I highly doubt. Yeah. I wouldn't even know where to buy an ashtray these days.
Yeah, that even made anymore.
Right. So maybe they saw something different, but
like they probably saw some like art piece in like a glass case.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. So what about like people asking, I know this has come up, like where guests will say, okay, we're thinking of having a little gathering. So how do you handle that?
I do. I love when we have certain houses that I know kind of people are drawn to for weddings, family reunions. If they're, not to prejudge, but if they're a driving to the location, sometimes that also means RVs and trailers. And in Jackson, it's a trailer with a bunch of sleds on it for snowmobiling. So you just kind of want to ask the questions like, what brings you here? What did you like about the house? If it's an auto booking, if it's organic and I have the chance to curate a house with them, that's a lot easier.
Yeah.
Just because I honestly do love to talk to people. Yeah. And I love to peel back the layers of the onion and get to know intimate details. And if you're just willing to listen, people love to talk about vacations and why they're coming here. Even if it's a business trip,
right? No, I mean, there's studies on that. That the joy that you get out of your vacation, like the bigger percentage of happiness that people get from a vacation and or a trip, is from the planning and all of the feelings and emotions and dopamine hits that you get before you go on the trip.
The anticipation.
Yeah. And I mean, wouldn't it be cool if, as the vacation rental industry and as hospitality providers, that we would be able to up our service so much that maybe we could flip that script? Because how cool if the trip could actually be more of the joy. I think that says that we have a lot of more work we can do if the pre part is like where people get even more of their dopamine hits. But anyway, knowing that, I think it's like, it makes all the conversations and communication that we have with the guests before they arrive or the homeowner so much more important.
I do want to say that it is heartbreaking.
Yeah.
There aren't a lot of negatives to what we do.
Yeah.
The heartbreaking thing is when you have this intimate relationship with a guest and then the owner comes back and says, oh, I forgot to block my calendar.
Oh, yeah.
Or
they have to cancel.
I have a renovation going on that's taking longer.
Yeah.
And we have to move the guest because now being the middle person, the guest thinks that we're doing this on purpose to ruin their life.
Yeah. Well, because I mean, I get it. Like, and I think this is a good thing, again, for the multitudes of homeowners that could be listening.
Yes.
I do think it's such a tough one, but it's really good for them to understand too, because it's like, on the one side, this is their house.
Right.
Like, it is their right to use it however they want. And so, of course, we're always like working if a homeowner at the last minute has some reason, whatever it might be, that they need to cancel this reservation that we've booked and they need to use their house, whether it's a mistake on anyone's part or whatever. But, so there's the one side of like, it's their house. It's their like multi-million-dollar property and they get to use it however they want. Mm-hmm. But then on the other hand, where we get pinched, and I think like especially Tilly and our sales team, they've worked so hard with these guests, and because they're really good at their job and they are really good at hospitality, like they actually care. They're not just offering like the service and the order taking, booking the reservation. They're not just doing the hospitality, which is like laying over more care and effort, going the extra mile, but they're really connecting with these guests and potential guests. And so that then when we have a homeowner who, for whatever reason, needs us to cancel a reservation on a guest, it's like such a gut punch.
It is.
Because it's like you got to know this guest and because we're trying to protect the homeowner too. So we're really getting to know the guest and what is their plans with the trip and what is their motivation and what does their group consist of. And then now we kind of get the feeling of who they are, why they're traveling. And then they're about to come to town. And then sometimes, let's say there's a renovation going on and it's not going to be done in time. And I understand there's just sometimes factors we can't control. But now this is like these people have been planning this for months. They've been looking forward to it for months, and we're going to just rip it out. And sometimes we can move the guest to a different house, but it's always like an emotional roller coaster with the guest, even if we're putting them in quotes, better house,
right?
Just because they've been dreaming about this. It's so hard.
Right.
And I do think it's good for homeowners to kind of understand that.
Absolutely.
And I mean, not to say like, so you better know this so you don't, because I mean, we all get it. Sometimes just show up.
It happens.
Yeah.
You're doing a renovation, but it's taking too long.
It's really hard because, that guest has such a hard time empathizing with our side or with the homeowner side. And sometimes the homeowner has a hard time empathizing with the guest. And I wish we could all connect a little more and because it's always such a bigger situation than I think both sides can fully understand.
Right.
Yeah.
I was on we were talking about the phone call that I had with the former Jackson Hole guest who had called me to stay in Park City.
Yeah.
And she gave me her dates and she gave me that, 8 adults, 1 5-year-old boy in the group. She had told me it's 4 couples.
Okay.
So I got, 4 bedrooms and 1 extra bedroom for the kid. And then what really impressed her was I said, okay, let me type in your dates and let me pull up all the properties that we have, which we only have about 4 because her dates are very popular.
Okay.
And I said, would you like to have me tell you what I see that's available and then give you because she had narrowed it down, but she hadn't told me the properties yet.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to be as transparent with her as possible on this is the house I would pick versus this house for your group with the information that you gave me.
Yeah.
And one thing she said to me was, have you been to these houses?
Yeah.
You probably haven't. And I was like, oh, I have been to all of our houses multiple times because I need an intimate knowledge. I can't, effectively steer somebody to the right property if I find out the little nuances like grandma's coming with us and she has bad knees.
Right.
So if grandma needs a certain bedroom and that's on the top floor,
Right.
that house isn't going to work for her. So I love getting all of those details, which for some people might feel intrusive, but
right. Like if they need 5 bedrooms and one's for the kid, the one that's for the kid that maybe has the smaller bed or something, that can't be in the basement if the parents are on the second.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All of those things.
Yeah. So what did you do? Did she want you to tell her which one, or did she want to like tell you hers first?
So I told her that these are the properties that I see.
Yeah.
I would, these 2 particular ones probably work the best because of their location. And then she said those are the 2 that I narrowed it down to as well.
Oh, okay, cool.
And then I just was able to give her my feedback because what I'm also doing is giving her ammunition. What she said was, I have been planning this for about 9 weeks now with my family, and they just won't commit. They won't.
Oh.
They won't. They don't understand the urgency. And then on our side, it's like, okay, we're down to the wire.
Yeah.
And people can book this out
right
underneath you.
Yeah.
So
it happens all the time. Like it's crazy how people book in groups. I don't know if you've noticed this, but it'll be like, maybe there's no bookings for like 12 hours or something. And then all of a sudden there will be like 4.
Right.
Like literally within an hour.
And in the middle of the night too.
It's super weird. Yeah. Okay. Everyone should know, we talked about a cowboy hat earlier that Tilly was wearing from Kimo Sabe. And I'm wearing a cowboy hat too. So I feel like
this is one you should tune into.
Yeah. Like maybe on YouTube. We have all of our podcasts videotape. And so I kind of feel like no one's ever going to watch like
this
the
one,
video.
This one's one.
But this one, we're both wearing hats.
Yeah.
And Tilly's wearing really special earrings that you really need to like zoom in on if you're watching the video, because they're little Santa, because today is the 20th. So we're really approaching Christmas, and Tilly went full Santa with her earrings, but Santa on her earrings, he's scantily clad. And so what's he holding?
And his hat.
Oh, it's a Santa hat. Oh, he's holding a Santa hat over his private part.
Yes.
They're really good earrings. I feel like they should be viewed on a video.
I have had these earrings for probably 25 years. I know.
Tilly's a collector.
I am.
She's a major
These
collector.
were a gift from Walter Larrabee to me.
Wow.
From Ruthstein when I waited tables.
Oh my gosh. Then Tilly also has like an insane memory.
It's insane.
It's crazy.
Insane.
I mean, who could I be if I had your memory? Like, I can't remember anything. I feel like you remember everything. I don't know. I don't know what that would be like. Like, I can't even imagine.
There's a lot in my head.
I know. Like, when she said us that she's been to all the houses, which she has numerous times, but that she like has all these nuances memorized.
When someone calls in and they're saying, so this bedroom here, and mind you, like there's a 3-bedroom that we have on Main Street or Park Ave, Big Moose, where 2 of they have 3 king beds, but you have to look at the picture for the lights next to the bed to tell which room is what.
Okay.
But usually everything else is very easy to be like, oh yeah, the bathroom is often this one or that one's ensuite.
Yeah.
Like that. But it just helps to make it better for the guests' experience.
Totally.
Too, if you know, and you're not like, oh, let me look at the picture and see.
No, totally. I mean, because people do not want to picture you sitting there looking like through a catalog online.
Order taking.
Yeah. That's not what we do. I mean, that's the difference between service, service, hospitality, connection.
Correct.
Okay. So another thing we talked about discussing today was like negotiating. So like our reservation sales team and how they will at times negotiate on price with potential guests. Because I think from the homeowner standpoint, a lot of times, whether I'm talking to a homeowner or more often now these days, I will see the emails. Like I'm not necessarily the one emailing the homeowners, but I can see them all coming and going from our team of people that deal with homeowners. And, there's oftentimes homeowners wondering like, is this the best rate we can get? Like, I really don't want you to negotiate it down. And I think sometimes from a homeowner's perspective, there can be kind of this theory that maybe Abode or any vacation rental company we just want to book as many reservations as we can. And while I think a lot of companies have different methods of how they gain revenue for their business, Abode, we don't charge a property management fee separately. We just charge our split. So we're just creating revenue off of the split from the revenue from the rentals, right? So, we do that because that incentivizes us and our teams to be in business with our homeowners, meaning we're only going to make money if the homeowner makes money. So that obviously incentivizes us to book the properties at the highest rate because there's no fee involved. So that's the only way that we can make money. And so, and by that, like there's no monthly fee to the homeowner, right, to take care of their house. And so, but homeowners still sometimes, I think they just wonder, like, oh, okay, whatever. But, I'm sure you just want to get this booking. So maybe you're going to book it less than it could book for. Okay, in reality, we're never going to do that because we don't want to lose those dollars either. We have 60 people that work for us. We have to cover our overhead. We have all these offices. But I think it's important for people to understand from your point of view, the sales manager, one of the people that's actually booking the reservations, like how does it work in your mind when you're negotiating with a guest? I think it could be helpful. Like I often wish that our homeowners could talk to our reservation sales team more because they barely get a chance to. So they could understand like really how driven our reservations team is to maximize each night and the rate for each night. And how, negotiating even the 20% that we ask homeowners to allow us, that's, not something we do lightly.
Correct.
So tell me about how that works.
So we have Brad, who literally goes through the entire calendar.
We call Brad our quant.
What's that?
That's like a joke, kind of. A quant is like one of the numbers people that works for like investment companies. Like, they're like the numbers freak. And he is kind of a number.
He's amazing. He's a savant.
But so he's like our dynamic pricing software, but in a human.
Correct.
Yeah.
And he goes in and fine tunes the calendar because he wants the calendar to be maximized.
So she means like nightly minimums. Like, do we have a 7-night minimum, a 5, a 4, a 3, and he'll work on like filling gaps and stuff like that.
And price it as such.
Yeah.
So if there's a certain gap.
Okay, explain this.
So he'll look at it. It drives me nuts because if a guest who's about to book says, well, what's the nightly rate? It's like, well, literally you have 5 nights and there's not a single price that's the same for each night.
Yeah.
Because Brad will go in and maybe make the Wednesday a little less expensive.
Yeah.
But then bump up the weekends.
Right. Well, and he'll do that so that let's say we put a 4-night minimum on there. Well, he's really pricing those 4 nights to be the same as a 5-night minimum.
Mm-hmm.
And he'll, maybe keep that Wednesday lower, but bump up Thursday, Friday, Saturday, maybe even Sunday, whatever. Because he's trying to take these groupings of nights and maximize so that, if we know that we're going to allow a 4-night minimum and we're looking at what that 4 nights would probably be, we're going to make it so those 4 nights would actually yield a 5-night price.
Correct.
And so there's all kinds of, equations and work that goes into that, but that's what she's saying. So you can work that from the nightly minimum, meaning like 4-night minimum, 5-night minimum, etc. You could also work it from the nightly rate because the nightly rate doesn't have to be the same every night. We can play with that with our information that we have from all these years of experience of knowing what are the common days that people might arrive depending on the time of year, what day are they going to leave, all of that.
And when I get pushback from someone, especially in Jackson, for example, when there are so many regulations on you can only rent once per month.
Yeah.
If someone's inquiring and they say, I see that you have a 5-night minimum, I only want to stay for 4 nights. I quickly explain, you don't have to stay for all 5, but this is going to be the only revenue for the month because we're going to have to block out the calendar. And the benefit is you can then be guaranteed an early check-in or a late checkout if you're only staying 4 nights, but there is the quote unquote 5-night. I call it a revenue minimum that the owner needs, and it just equates to 5 nights. Is how we can show it on paper.
Yeah, and sometimes we do that with the pricing, or sometimes our salespeople have to explain it. Mm-hmm. So, but like, what about the instances where someone is saying like, I want to be at this total all in, or I'm talking about like actual negotiations on a price. Somewhere between like say 5, 15, 20% negotiation.
Yep. So it's a good barometer.
Yeah.
Because I do say we use dynamic pricing.
Yeah.
So our prices go up and our prices go down. And you are getting the best rate possible at this time.
Yeah.
If somebody says, I want to be at X amount of dollars and they are way, way out of the park on it.
Yeah.
I'll say it's never going to happen.
Yeah.
Just, I try to feel out if they want a good deal.
Yeah.
If they want to feel like they won.
Right.
Or are they really at a hard number? And if they're at a hard number, then I'm going to try to find another property because we have so much demand and not enough inventory that it also kind of speaks to the personality of the guests.
Yeah.
If they're digging their heels in and they're like, I want $5 off. It's like, what are you going to do when you get in house?
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it's like, so let's talk about it. So like, let's say someone's looking for a 5 or 10% discount. Then like, how does that work? I want to be able to show the homeowners potentially like how we handle that. I think that the perception can be from a homeowner standpoint sometimes that we'd be like, oh yeah, that's fine. 10%, no worries. But like, so how does it actually go down?
Usually with me, I say, this is the rate.
Yeah.
Take it or leave it. Because it is.
Right.
If it's something that maybe it's here's an example. If there's a new property and it just got onboarded at the beginning of the ski season and has a lot of availability, we're going to lower the rate to get it more likes or reviews and bookings
and eyes on it. Clicks.
We need to hurry and get that house booked. And I'll be transparent with guests about that.
Yeah.
Reviews are important. So guests will ask, why doesn't this have any? And that's usually the reason.
Yeah.
And then I really don't want to give any discounts at all. And if let's say it's a summer, let's say somebody wants to book for a month in the summer and there's like a 15% discount that they want. I will say, can you meet in the middle? And I will not have said, I've talked to the owner or given you an answer. So that kind of feels out. Like if they say, well, what's the middle? Or if I say, if the owner agrees to that, are you ready to book? So it's a closing tactic as well. But more often than not, we don't wiggle.
Yeah.
I usually say things like our homeowners don't want to turn and burn.
Yeah.
And so we have it priced for what
their
the value is.
But like, what about the times? Because I know there are times where we have negotiated and like, that's what I want to be able to show people, like how that kind of goes.
It's really
like unique. I know that it's like individual.
Sure. And so,
but like, do you have like a couple examples, like one or two?
We'll look at the calendar.
Okay.
So there's somebody who just inquired about one of the properties over in Canyons Village.
Okay.
And they wanted to book it for 9 nights.
Okay.
And there was a big gap in the calendar.
Okay.
And they were asking for about a 10% discount.
Okay.
On top of what the discount already was, because it had a 10% discount for 7 nights or more.
Got it.
And $100 off for a little
the cultivate.
Yes. And so Brad, we have an open dialogue with Brad.
Yeah. Brad, who's the guy that handles all of our revenue management and or pricing.
Yep.
Yeah.
So he'll kind of have the personality of the owner in his mind. Is it an owner that we can do this with?
Yeah.
How does their whole calendar look? He'll telescope out and see, okay, how's their winter look?
Yeah.
It's early season. Go ahead and take it. This would fill a good gap, all of that. Or other times it's like, absolutely not.
Yeah.
We don't need it.
Yeah.
And our team knows.
Yeah.
We've all been here long enough that we kind of get the gist of the homeowners. And we also look at how was it last year?
Right.
What did they do last year? Did the homeowner get the same or more? And I'll tell the guests, like last year it was $20,000. I cannot go below that. So it helps.
And then, I mean, one thing I look at is like, I will be able to kind of see the homeowners who really won't let us negotiate at all, or who kind of get really angry if we negotiate even a little bit, versus the homeowners that allow for negotiation. What I always can tell is that the ones that allow for negotiation actually make more. And it's not that they're booking that many more reservations, because really the catalyst could be like 1 or 2 more reservations a year. but they end up with more revenue. And then the ones that won't allow negotiation, I feel like those homes get booked less.
Correct.
Because the sales team, they don't have any levers to pull.
Yeah, we're hands.
When someone says like, could we do 5% discount just because they're a negotiated kind of person and they want to feel like they won, or can we do a 10% discount because yada yada. And if we know that it's just like, no, we can't, then you move on to the next property.
Correct.
Because you have to.
Yep.
Whereas when there's a little wiggle room, you end up booking a really strong reservation with a high amount of revenue. And usually you're going to have much less chance that you'll have those weeks that just don't get booked. And I don't mean that you're trying to book every single week, because the properties that we manage, that's not our goal, is to book every single week. But just meaning, let's say you're trying to book 8 weeks a year or even 6, you're going to book your 6 and you're not going to end up with 4, because the ones where we can't negotiate, you might only get like 3 or 4.
Right.
And so then that homeowner ends up at the end of the year more unhappy with their revenue. But it's like, we can't have everything. We all wish we could have our cake and eat it too, but realistically, we're dealing with supply and demand. And so, I mean, do you feel like that? Do you feel like you end up booking the ones where you have even a little bit of wiggle room? That's how it looks to me, but I'm wondering if you feel like that.
Yes, absolutely. Also, it's really hard on the sales team when a homeowner either doesn't block out their calendar.
Oh, yeah.
And then gets a booking, or does block out their calendar. And then at the last minute is like, oh yeah, I'm not coming out for Christmas. Go ahead and try to rent it.
Yeah.
Or has it blocked and says, if anyone shows interest in this,
right. That's so
no one's going to see your property if you have it blocked because it's pulled off the calendar.
So that's a really good point. Like, we try to get our homeowners to block off we use Streamline software, which we love. And that allows for the homeowner to have an owner portal they can log into. And so we ask that the homeowners block their calendars. They block the dates with the dates that they would like to use their property, even like a year in advance, if possible, or more, so that we can start getting reservations that won't impede their own usage. But then there's a few things that can happen here. One is that a homeowner will say, oh, just leave the calendar open and I'll book in those vacant spaces, which sounds good until we get a bunch of bookings. And then they'll say, actually, we want to come out on this 1 week and you need to cancel that reservation, which, as we talked about earlier, is excruciating. Or they say, okay, we're blocking off these dates for our own usage. And then, like, this is happening kind of a lot right now this time of year. Yeah. And then people will be like, oh, we're actually not going to come for Christmas. But they'll tell us that, like, say, on December 15th,
right,
or something. And they'll be like, we're not coming. Can you try and give me a reservation? Because we're going to go to Switzerland instead or whatever. And so then it's like, we have like 10 days to try and get someone to book like a $40,000, $80,000 stay.
And that's when the guest thinks they have leverage on us.
And
at that point, say,
they think it's last minute.
It's sitting empty.
Yeah.
Don't you want to at least book it? And then we have to explain, which sounds made up when we're telling a guest that, so they don't trust us.
Right.
What I really enjoy is that our homeowners department, my team, owner relations and sales communicate very well together. And so I will see if I can see in Streamline, if an owner blocked out their dates for, let's say, presidents.
Yeah.
If they blocked that out back 10 months ago.
You can see when they blocked it.
Yeah. And I can ask, like, hey, do you want to just check in with this owner? Because I have a good fit for that.
Yeah.
And that's how we not only curate for the guests, but also curate for homeowners. Because maybe a homeowner forgot. Or,
And I think that's a really good point for homeowners and people in our industry to think about, because all of us in the industry, we need to also think from our homeowners' point of view and our guest point of view. It's like, that's what's hard about our job, I think, is thinking from both sides of it.
And I feel like I try to relay this theme across the board to Abodians, but our homeowners are our partners.
Right.
That's who we are wanting to make happy.
Right.
I am more than happy, even though I make commission and I'm a salesperson.
Right.
I am more than happy to bypass a guest if I think that there's any risk that we could lose out.
Yeah. We'd always
not worth it.
We would always prefer to not take a certain guest at the risk of us potentially losing the homeowner.
Correct.
Right. I mean, I think that right there is definitely a nugget. It's like, or maybe it's both, but it's like the homeowner is more value to the company, obviously, because there's multiple reservations in a year, while a guest, even as a repeat, is probably because we're a fly to market and ski market, maybe 2 reservations a year max. And so obviously the homeowner then has more value just inherently with simple math. And a homeowner will be someone that we're working with for hopefully like 10, 15 years. Whereas a guest hopefully will repeat back to us. But, thinking that we are a ski market, most people don't ski the same place for 10 or 15 years in a row. I mean, some people do, but it's fairly rare. Not like as much, maybe like a beach destination or something where people may go the same place every year. And so I think, that just shows you that our homeowners, how much value we have. And it shows you that even from our sales team, and I think this is true in a lot of companies in our industry, that the sales teams at seasoned companies, they understand the importance of the homeowner, even in the position of being the person that sells to the reservations.
Well, and I think that this is an important point to make for current and future homeowners.
Yeah.
You and I, Rachel, we have a history of being second homeowners,
right,
landlords, quote
totally.
unquote.
Yeah.
So
well, not everyone knows that, but
right.
Rob and I had a second home in Deer Valley, and Tilly had a second home property here in Park City. And it's not like I hate to harp on that too much because both of us we both sold the properties since. But
I have a second home.
You're right. I forgot. Tilly has a second home in Maine.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's like
I understand the value. Yes.
Yeah. Like
absolutely.
You are a second homeowner.
You started the company because you didn't like how you were being treated as a homeowner in a vacation rental.
Right. It's true. It's true. I feel like we've gotten away from that because that was like always what we talked about in the beginning of the business. And then everything has become so much more complicated that we don't talk about that as much. But I do think
we are
an important point.
We understand being
like
a second homeowner and
it's from the homeowners,
right? And the trust that you need to put into the people that are taking care of what your value is.
Yeah. And it's a lot. And I think it's like a lot to be able to trust someone that they're going to maximize your revenue, that they're not going to put weirdos in your house. And obviously, because we manage high-end properties, this is something we have become like very accustomed to handling well, and especially like our team in general. Like Tilly's 10 years with Abode, like that's a lot. And a lot of people that work on our sales team have close to that amount of time, at least one of them. And then the other 2 are like, 5 years?
Yeah.
So it's like our team, we're lucky, is really seasoned. But I think not just Abode, like there are many companies in the industry that really care about this. But I would say from a homeowner standpoint, if you're not with Abode and you're looking at companies, it is really important to look at the sales team and to make sure that they are local to the places that they're selling, or at least like that they're close enough to those places they can see them very frequently, more than once a year. And that the sales teams are trained on understanding what kind of guests the company is looking to book and that the homeowners are looking to put to the house, and how does the dynamic pricing work, and how does each of the homeowners feel about negotiating on prices. Like these are all really important. And I think the bigger a company gets, the harder it is to keep your homeowner happy. You have to really understand each homeowner, and you can only do that to a certain level. And I think with us being around 200 properties total, it's hard, but we have a big enough team where we can manage it at this point. I do think like CRM and having software that can help us keep track of and have easy access to all this information about our homeowners and all of their preferences, that's probably a nugget too. Like just having software where you can house all the information about each homeowner and having processes in place so that the team can have their hands on that really quickly. Yeah. I feel like we covered a lot.
Yeah.
Do we not cover anything that you think we should still talk about?
I will say that having a young crew who maybe is renting something and maybe hasn't vacationed in a $12 million house.
Yeah.
I tried to say, okay, what's the most expensive thing? What's your most valuable thing that you've ever bought?
Yeah.
And one example I can think of is we have a lot of outdoor enthusiasts on our team. And one of our colleagues said, well, it's my raft. Like, his river running raft costs a lot of money.
Yeah.
And
like, how much does a river running raft shop?
No, I would say thousands.
Do you know?
Only thousands.
Maybe like 5, right? I was Googling it. Come on.
I want to say like 2,500.
What if it's like 12?
Like 3,000.
3,000. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So I have said to that person, Blaine, imagine giving that raft to us,
Right.
Abode.
Yeah.
And we're going to put other people in it.
Right.
And they're going to take trips in it.
Yeah.
And then we're going to return it back to you in the same or better condition.
Right.
That's the mindset that you have to have
on
something that is relatable.
Yeah. Because it is hard to relate. I do think, when you're walking through with our team, like you said, a $12 million house. And then just to fathom the idea that that's someone's special thing. And then it matters to them just as much as your raft matter, because sometimes we lose track of that. I think that's a really valid point. And we do work with our teams in that way. But I think, Tilly, that's like an awesome example of how a property management company could help train their team or show them, like with a mental picture of like, how do you envision how the sameness would feel to you of something that you own and sharing it in this way.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, that's really important. Okay, so this is our second episode so far in season 2.
Wow.
Which I feel like what we want to do with this is, I hope what we're going to do is share these episodes from this, like these 10 with our homeowners, like in an email, maybe some email newsletters, and we'll attach the episodes. I don't know if we'll attach the video or just the audio, but really for this one, they're really
I think the video for this one.
Because I do think it could be helpful. Like I always feel like
we're real. I don't know how many people they tell me, Tilly, I looked you up on your website and saw and read your description.
Oh, like you mean like guests to talk to you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like with Nellie and all that. Like,
Nellie's her dog that she brings to work every day.
Yes.
Is she here today?
No, because we're having the party and she eats weird food.
Oh, yeah. Tonight we're having our team White Elephant Christmas party. It's actually our monthly development meeting, I think. It's our MDM, right? Mm-hmm. But we're turning it into the Christmas party. We already had like an actual Christmas party at Rob and I's house like 2 weeks ago,
very nice.
Which was like 75 people at our house. It was so fun.
Yes.
And it was all of our team plus it was the housekeepers. So it was like so good.
And our significant others.
And all the significant others
so
and
nice.
The team from Lolo's Laundromat. But
Brandon
Valley
was there.
Valley, but tonight is the Park City crew, and we're doing the White Elephant gifts. I have to wrap mine still. How would you have the extra wrapping paper? I have to do that still. Okay, maybe some tissue or something. Anyway, so we're doing that really soon, like in less than an hour, I think, right? All right, so that's exciting. But okay, hopefully this episode will be part of this group that we send to the homeowners, and hopefully they'll find it useful. If not, at least entertaining, especially if they watch it. All right. And so I hope everyone that hears this, I know there's a million, bazillion, probably a billion people listening. Yeah.
Does this get translated into different languages?
Yeah, we're going to translate it into at least 22 languages so that we want everyone all over the universe to learn. Yeah. But it's not, even if just like 2 people hear it, hopefully it's helpful. And regardless, we will be back with our next episode next week. And until then, thanks for listening to the Hospitality Break Room.